What's up, everybody? What's up? How we doing? Yeah, anybody got any snow reports today? I got a point 4 inches myself today of snow. Wasn't really expecting anything. I saw it on the NAM actually, like yesterday. I saw it come up, but I wasn't exactly sure if it was going to verify. And yeah, I guess the NAM was onto it. It was got a little under half inch of snow and a good with a lot of wet flakes. It was a good way to start this event, to be honest, because now already got almost a half inch of snow, so making a profit already, which is good. But yeah, that's all I got to start with. So let's get into it. I think I think there's a lot on paper that I really like, and I want to get on board with. But at the same time, I do have some trust issues. Trusting us to go rain or snow, and that buffer period in between, and then getting the good dynamics. Um, there's a little bit of trust issues, but I do think I do think this can definitely, I don't want to say overperform, but maybe surprise some people tomorrow when it comes to the backside snow. This is, again, we have a really dynamic 500 setup here, right? You can see our upper level low, right? It's really dynamic. Our vort, and what we've been doing, continue to do, is hold back, right? Once we came, right, a little bit more progressive, right? That run not so much, but this run a little bit more progressive, and then holding back the last couple of runs, holding back. And what we're doing with holding back energy is forcing our surface low to form a little bit further south and west, because we already know. Listen, we already know we're not going to be able. We're not going to be able to transition to snow. We're not going to be able to stay snow. That's just a reality, right? If you're not like here, where nobody's not staying snow until the backside. So in doing so, we've been pressing on this from the north. We've been pressing on this more and more and more, and we've been pushing this back. I'm getting into that, my man. We've been pushing this back, and in doing so, we can push. In doing so, we can also force the low pressure to form a little bit closer to the upper level low, and in doing that, we've been able to hold the best dynamics. We've been able to hold on to the best dynamics for longer, which is a really good positive for people that do want to see snow. And it's just been kind of, I don't know, a trend, but it's been pretty consistent on models now for the last 24 hours or so. And hey, I'm all for it. Listen, I'm all for it. Now, how likely is this to happen? I think there's a pretty good chance. I like the idea of the NAM. Not just I like it because it shows good stuff. I think it's somewhat realistic. I mean, we look at 500. You can look at any of the models you want. It's super dynamic. Super. I don't want to say super, but it's a pretty dynamic upper level low we're working with here, right? I mean, look at this. Look at this shortwave here. Super, and then the NAM is on another level. It's really strong upper level low piece. Really strong piece at 500 here we're working with. Not the most scientific way to say that right there, but still, my point is, typically with this kind of setup, you'd imagine we'd be thumping. We'd be thumping all the way back into here. On this kind of setup, you'd be imagine right now. Boom, right, and we're thumping. Just on paper, we're thumping all throughout here right now. Just looking at 500, and then when you look at 700 as well, you can see. Look at the banding at 700, very visible. This is a big time band, and this has been showing up sometimes on some models, off and on. You got the Burks might hit the double digits pretty easily. If tomorrow verifies like I think it could, Burks might hit the double digits pretty easily. But I mean, right here, you look at this band. I mean, you just dumping, just dumping in this band right here. Right, we're dumping into Maine too, probably right now as well. Into Canada, right here, just dumping snow probably. Now the question is, are we going to be able to work this band down close to coastal sections? We're going to have to figure that out. We got 3 inches already. Yikes. Lucky son of a gun, man. Alrighty, but you can see it's a pretty, like, when you see this at 700, right? We use 700 to look for to identify our banding, and when you see this at 700, it's just really dynamic, right? I know some people are saying it's kind of a nowcast situation, or you got to use the models, or you can't use the models at this point anymore. No, you can use the models. You just have to know what you're looking for. There's a difference between doing this and this, There's a difference between, comparing each P-type map to the next, and going to 500, going to 700, and comparing between the models and comparing with OBS, right? You can use the models, compare it to OBS, and you can understand how the models are doing. And currently, the NAM's not doing that bad. Fortunately, 500 millibar is not available to the public on HRR. So it's a little bit harder to tell if a model like the HRR is doing all that well. And I didn't look at any other models because I had to hop on stream. So it is what it is. But look at, actually, I can just pull up the tweet. That'll be quicker. I pulled up 10 p.m. observations. OBS is observations. Was it this one? Here we go. All right, so it's right here. Notice right here's our trough at 500. He's doing a pretty good job, right? Picking up on the closed off upper level low in Indiana, pretty close with our contour lines, and even a little bit holding back a little bit more too at 500, which was a positive. Because right, the more we talk about, a little bit more we hold back, the more we're going to be able to hold on to the dynamics for longer, and allow those best dynamics to get a little bit further south and west and get going earlier, a little bit more amplified, and not so much at the cost point where, unless models are drastically wrong, we're not going to be able to over amplify to the point where we can completely miss out on this transitioning back to snow. I think, especially for anybody, I-84, 495, anybody northwest of 95. I mean, anybody like 5 to 10 miles northwest of I-95, it's going to be hard not to get back to snow with some of the dynamics we're looking at. And here we go. And so, right, we've been pressing down at this, and hasn't been from that angle, but we've been pressing down from that angle. So we've been kind of stretching this out. Right, and this kind of forced us, right? At a time, we thought we were going to be able to stay all snow, but we've been stretching this out. And so we knew we're not going to be able to get this rain snow. I kind of just stretched out my stretched out line and made it my rain snow line, but it is what it is. Happy coincidence right there. And by stretching out our system, right, and we've been allowing this rain snow line to have no problem getting, I don't know, this far north, but getting pretty far north in exchange for holding back our dynamics, and only being able to thread the needle enough so we don't over amplify to the point where by the time we switch back, we barely have any time to work with the best dynamics. So that's some of the upside we have currently with the system. We've threaded the needle a little bit. On paper, it's not a great snow setup. But as we got closer and we got, updated model data and etc., we've been able to kind of pin down exactly what exactly the system has to do. And we're still trying to pin down. You can see this is what's coming through tonight. Really going to have some pretty heavy precipitation tonight. So whoever stays all snow is going to be able to pick up on probably some heavier, wetter snow. Because as we do this, as our upper level, mid-level low, as they pass through to the north and east, right? And then as the transfer is taking place, eventually the surface low will slide off to the east, and that will allow more cold air to barge in from the north and the west. Right, we're pushing up warm air up into southern New England, and so we have okay cold air to work with, not really that great, but some cold air to work with. It's mid to late January, so we don't really need a ton, especially if you live in central and northern New England. And this is colliding, and this is how we're getting our heavier snow, to break out, across, these regions tonight. And in doing so, the column is well saturated, but we're also a little warm. Our temperature profile is a little bit warm, so we're not going to be able to get the best snow growth tonight across these areas. So we're going to get decent snow growth, but not that great, and under heavier bands. When you're not in heavy bands, you're probably not going to be accumulating all that much. You're going to need to be in moderate to heavy snow to see accumulation, which isn't going to be a problem because you can clearly see a lot of convection we're working with here and a lot of strong mid-level dynamics, not exactly consolidated, but you can notice those do eventually consolidate, and we get a pretty big time band to get going tomorrow morning into tomorrow afternoon. And then we can take a look at some of these soundings. Right here's overnight. We take a look at some of the soundings overnight. We'll go to Vermont or New Hampshire. All right, so not bad, not really great snow growth, but we're pretty well saturated. But notice we're pretty warm. So we're pretty warm from 750 all the way down to the surface. So it's not going to be the best snow growth. It's just going to be really wet, sloppy snow. Probably people are probably going to see max later tonight. Once we get to 1, 2, 3 a.m. There's going to be a period for a few hours where we're going to be in that buffer period where our storms intensifying, and then we're also going to be waiting for that deform band to develop. So that kind of buffer period, probably not many people are going to be seeing snowfall rates too much heavier than a 1/2 inch or 3/4 inch per hour max in those heavier snow bands. It's just going to be rough. It's going to be slim pickings in between. But the good news is, right, we get that deform band to get going. And we take a look at some of these soundings, here in southern New Hampshire. Right, this is really good when we look at soundings. We looked at, this NAM 3K and NAM 12K are different a lot of the time, but usually not different, ridiculously different. But we can clearly see around soundings well saturated all the way down from the upper levels down to the surface. In fact, right on top of each other, all the way from 650 down to the atmosphere. You can find our dendritic growth zone right around here. Right here's the top of our dendritic growth zone, and here's the bottom of our dendritic growth zone. So our dendritic growth zone is around 525 to 650. Around 525 to 650, and you can see we have really good omega, meaning we have good lifts, we have good forcing happening in our atmosphere to combine with well saturated, and we're not completely flirting. Right in that last sounding, we were all snow, but when you flirt with this, 0 degree line, 0 degree Celsius line, you're not going to get as good snow growth. But here, you can see we're a little bit closer. closer this way, meaning we're colder. The farther to the left we are, the colder we are. The farther to the right, the warmer we are on the sounding. So we want to stay we want to stay colder, because that means we're going to get a fluffier, easier to accumulate snow. That's if you want snow. Okay, I'm assuming everybody here wants snow, or at least hopefully. If not, it's the wrong person to get information from. Wrong person. But point being, further back we stay from the 0 degree line, the colder we're going to stay. And as long as we're well saturated like we are in this sounding, the easier it is to accumulate, the better snow growth we get. And so this is a really good heavy snow sounding right here in southern New Hampshire. And then we can go down into Connecticut too. Notice, right, a little bit warm at the surface, right? 35 degrees at the surface. However, this is going to be a wet snow probably regardless, but through our dendritic growth zone, we can see our dendritic growth zone right now is from about 550 to 750. So we're very cold throughout the mid levels of our atmosphere, and almost all the way down to 925. We're 900. We're pretty cold, and so that's still going to allow pretty decent snow growth, because they're in this band at this point. They're going to be able to get pretty decent snow growth, even though it'll still be probably a little bit of a wetter snow and still struggle to accumulate as much if we were like 30 degrees at the surface, but still going to be able to accumulate, assuming, again, I'm just looking at the NAM, what the NAM is showing, and I think it's going to be not exactly like the NAM, but I think there's some similarities potentially to what could evolve tomorrow. And take a look at another sounding closer. That's actually closer to Mikasa, and that is a ridiculously good sounding. Notice too, really good forcing all the way up into the upper levels. Right, we saw how strong our energy was at 500, our vorticity, and we can see here clearly we have good lift and forcing our atmosphere all the way through. Right, you typically just need it in the dendritic growth zone, but we can see all the way through our mid levels and upper levels. Really good forcing, and then we're super well saturated, a little close here, but we're plenty still to snow, definitely not a concern, and 33 at the surface. Excuse me. So we're a few degrees colder than we were back in Connecticut. And notice here, well saturated. We're well saturated above our dendritic growth zone, even to about 725, so about 540 to 725, well saturated, and plenty of omega, about -2 to -3 omega, which is really good. Again, our omega we look at for a forcing or a lift in the atmosphere we have to work with, and even a little bit of mid-level CAPE showing up. So I guess we can't rule out thunder snow tomorrow as well. I guess can't rule it out, not a guarantee, but can't rule it out tomorrow. So I mean, I look at these soundings and I see, just a fantastic look. And then let's slide it over closer to Boston, and you can see, I mean, that's a nuclear bomb right there. That is, when you see that, that is a ridiculously good sounding for a heavier snow. I mean, yeah. I mean, we got even some surface-based CAPE showing up too. That is, it doesn't get much. It doesn't get a lot. Maybe if we were 25 degrees instead of 33, that's really about it. We're a little bit warm. We're a little bit colder from 7 to 850. But I mean, this is a really good heavy snow sounding. So, but it won't be for 7-8 hours of just straight on heavy snow, which is why I still have a lot of 1 to 3 and 3 to 6s. But I do think there's a higher ceiling. If you can get into the band, assuming the band comes together early enough. Assuming that band's going to come together. It's just how early can we get it to come together and the exact placement of it. I don't think there's a question about that. It's just figuring out exactly how early that band forms and the exact placement. That's what we have to nail down at this point. And that's why I think there's a ceiling. I put out these. I felt kind of like a schmuck, to be honest, when I put out this higher end ceiling. But I was watching football, sitting on the couch, and I was like, you know what? Let's just make. I like making snowfall maps, so let's do it. First, let's look at here. All right, this is my actual snowfall thoughts here with my snowfall map, and then I'll answer you guys' questions in a second. I promise. I saw some guys putting through 3 inches. Yeah, 2.8. Awesome. Yeah, we'll talk about the coast of New York City. We'll talk about coast of New York City as well. I saw a couple posts on the Ahref too. I'll address in a second. I haven't looked at the Ahref itself with my own eyes with all the stuff, but I just saw the couple posts on Twitter about the Ahref. But here are my thoughts. Here's my snowfall total map I made. It's pretty similar, right? I told you guys I was going to have a widespread 6 to 12. I told you guys that like a couple days ago. Honestly, my thoughts didn't really waver on that. It was just me trying to figure out how far southeast really I wanted to get. How far southeast I wanted to get my 2 to 5, 3 to 6, and my 1 to 3. I think there's an opportunity here for maybe more, depending on how nuclear this band goes. Like, there's a real high ceiling, I think, for a lot of people. And I think, actually, I'm just going to pull it up so I can go back and forth between the two. Slide. All right, so here's I think there's an opportunity, right? I think there's a chance, if my man in Pitts, where is it? North Adams, I think. I forget. Well, I got someone in Adams in the Berks, and they got already 3 inches of snow, and I think they could hit that. They could hit that, 12 plus potentially. But I really do think this is my higher end. You can see high end scenarios. Meaning, when you see those NWS snowfall total maps, they're like 1 in 10, 1 out of 10 chance or whatever. I don't know about 1 out of 10, but I'm not putting a percentage on it. I just think this is the higher end scenario. I think this is the higher end scenario in terms of snowfall. Again, this is not one specific scenario. It's one specific scenario for everybody on the map. What is their max ceiling I think they can get from this snowstorm? And I think it's pretty safe to say I feel confident. I feel confident in this map. I feel pretty confident in this map. Question is, how realistic can we get into some of these totals? It's possible. It's possible. It's realistically possible. Not for everybody. Not for everybody. Not for every single person. This won't happen. Not a chance these totals will happen for every single person that you see. But I do think there is a higher end scenario where this band produces, what we're expecting, inch per hour rates. Someone gets 3 inch per hour rates. They sit in the band for, 2.5 hours. They get out of the band and they get 5-6 inches of snow. And then they snow for 4 to 5 hours outside of that and pick up another, 2 to 4 inches. And that's how you get, like 6, 7, 8 inches. That's how you get like 8 inches of snow when like most people were forecasting like 2 to 4 for you or something. That's how you make out on a higher end scenario. Now, I think one of the biggest question marks in all of this is not only, what it can, can these areas, can these areas get into like 5 to 8 inch totals potentially? That's one of the question marks. That's not the biggest question mark. I think one of the biggest question marks is when we go down. No, not even. I think one of the biggest question marks. Go farther. Here we go. Is these folks right here. I think Connecticut, Hudson Valley, New York City. New York City, I don't really think there's a super high ceiling for you. I think I drew like 1 to 3 kind of. I think there's this for New York City maybe if you're really lucky. But I don't think there's a super high ceiling there. But I think this is the biggest question: Can Long Island get an inch or two of snow? Can New York City get an inch or two of snow? Can a lot of northern Jersey get 1 to 3 inches? Um, can coastal Connecticut get like 2 to 4 inches or something? And can we see widespread maybe 3 to 6 inches across central Connecticut and southwestern Connecticut? Is that possible? If that band takes place, you're able to sit in that band for 1 to 2 hours. Pick up, and you get 1 to 2 inch per hour rates for a couple hours. I don't need to do the math for you to tell you how much snow that is. That's a good 2 to 4 inches of snow right there if you just sit in the band for a couple hours. And then maybe you sit into a few hours of moderate snow. Outside of that, it's going to be tough. It's going to be slim pickings. Outside of that, you pick up an inch of snowfall, and boom, there you go. You got yourself 3.5, 4 inches of snowfall when you were expecting coating to 1 inches. So that's why for this specific setup, I wanted to make a higher end snowfall. That was part of it. That wasn't the whole motivation. Part of my motivation was I was a little bored and I like making snowfall maps. It's fun. I just enjoy it. Getting on Photoshop. You guys have seen me on stream before. Do it. It's fun. It's fun to have that much. It's power. It's control making a snowfall map. But obviously it's not a joke. I tried to make something that was realistic. When I say realistic, that doesn't mean likely. Okay, just know that. But realistically possible in terms of a higher end scenario for snowfall. But I still like this map. I almost thought about pushing this a little bit further southwest, almost digging this a little bit more, depending on what we get with that band. I probably should have. I thought I got more into, was it Hampshire? No, I got into Hampshire. Okay. But yeah, I pretty much agree. I think there's still a good chance, we could see, I think anywhere in here, I think this is your best shot. Anywhere in here can see like 10 to 16 inches. I think that's possible too. Right, 6 to 12 is just a general widespread, but I think there's the potential for some people to see, 10 to 15, 10 to 16 inches of snow potentially. And that extends out to Maine. Honestly, I think if you put gun to my head, sweet spot, I think it's probably not Mass if they mix. Probably not Mass if they mix, but for anybody that doesn't mix and lives in this part, because what's going to happen is, right, you're getting all that snow from the first batch, and then what's going to happen is I think it's going to be, even if it develops later a little bit, the band, you're still going to be able to get into it regardless. So I think that's the safest spot to have the highest amount of totals. And then even if the band develops earlier, you're going to be able to get the strongest point of the band compared to people in Connecticut and Hudson Valley, Jersey. So you're going to be able to get the best. Excuse me. Be able to get the best of both worlds potentially. And this is why I think I've said for the past couple of days why I think this is the sweet spots of sweet spots. Like this if anyone we're going to get like 14 to 16 inches of snow, it would be in this region right here, I think. And that obviously, like, elevated folks in the Berks in southern Vermont, like Mitch, who's got 2,300 feet elevation, is obviously has a shot at that always. When you have that kind of elevation, people like 1,000+ feet elevation will always have a chance to really make out higher than the people at like 300 feet elevation, which I think is pretty self-explanatory. What time in Massachusetts around 4:95 does the changeover start tomorrow? Good question. I think somewhere around 10 to 12, depending on where you live. So we can actually break that down. Here's also, before I answer that question, here's something I wanted to address too. When I was talking about, I got a little pushback from someone or a couple of people, but it is what it is. When you see the HR, you can kind of not as bouncy on this one. It's not too bad. But notice we have all this convection. If we have all this convection out here, and this isn't just now. This is just in general. Storms, storms like to chase all this convection to the east. I don't know, just an inherent model bias a lot of times, and the low ends up like, anytime we get a little convective blow up, the low like chases it. So sometimes when you see those weird bounces on models, it likes to chase it. Really likes to chase it. So this is why I think when we're looking at a model, when we're looking at models and we're trying to look at how much is going to be held back, back into this region, I think this is what leads any of the progressive models that we see. A lot of them that I've noticed have been, obviously we're going to have a pretty elongated low pressure, somewhat elongated low pressure, but a lot of the models I've seen, they chase it. And again, we have a stretched out system to begin with as well. That's true. But we also have a really dynamic upper level low here. I mean, that's a strong Vort piece right there. So it's hard for me to believe that our low is just going to go chase this convection. We have a new upper level low forming that's consolidating, and we're not going to hold that, and our low pressure isn't going to hold back this region, right? I'd imagine our low pressure like right here is where I'd imagine it in this specific setup. I guess we can compare. That's where I would draw the low. And yeah, the NAM it's more elongated, but this is the center spot of the low pressure basically. So the NAM gets tucked in a little bit. Don't really focus on the L. The L is just noise, right? Let me get closer. This whole area is the low pressure. So don't get caught in on the 989 L right here. This whole area is 990 millibar low pressure. This whole area, so don't get caught up on that stuff. So that's also a tip for some people. When they look at the L, they think that's where the low pressure is. It's not that. This whole area is low pressure right here. And sometimes what models like to do is the low chases the convection. You can kind of see that on the 3K here. It bounces around, kind of chases some convection. You can see the L jumps back and forth. And so sometimes it messes it with it for a short period of time and makes it look funky sometimes a little bit. But not a super huge deal, I think, in the grand scheme of things. A lot of it's just model noise and being able to decipher what exactly it's showing. But yeah, I just can't get over it. I mean, that's thumping. I mean, I don't see why we're not thumping all across. Question is how easy can we stick right away, and then how heavy, how much can we get into the heavy snow? And when I say how much can you get into the heavy snow? I think the farther north and east you are, the better chance you have to not only get into the band, but for longer. And I think that will define a lot of people's snowfall totals. But in terms of changeover, I think 10 to 12 a.m., you can see get it in between. No, I'll go back that far. It's fine. We can use 3Z. You can see HRR, it's a little bit sooner. A little bit sooner on the HRR. It's kind of pulling all. HRR is a little bit more of a progressive, right? It's HRR typically inherently a little bit progressive. It's never usually one of the more amplified models, just in general. Holds out a little bit sooner. So HRR is one of the earlier switch over. So 10 a.m. around Worcester 495, and then the NAM is around noon. You can see that NAM's around noon to 1 o'clock, right? So somewhere probably around 10 to 1 o'clock tomorrow is when we see the changeover around 495. 1,000 feet elevation, yeah. I mean, your 6 to 12 is more like an 8 to 14, probably, honestly, at this point. Gun to my head, I would put 8 to 14 for you. Strat and snowing pretty good. Yeah. I don't think our cold air is going to get too dried up, so I really don't think it's going to be a problem to get snow well into the interior. I saw someone said 5 to 8 for Lindenville. I don't know about that, but or Linden State. I don't know about 5 to 8 that far, but I do think that I don't think it's going to have a problem drying up. We're not that cold. This isn't ridiculous Arctic air, so I don't think we're going to have a problem, having a pretty expansive precip shield. I mean, look at 500. I mean, if I look at 500, I'm saying this. I think we're all snow. We're thumping. We should be thumping. All the way back. All right, this is where I look when I look at 500. I think we should be thumping all the way back into here. I guess we're a little too dry, but I mean, I don't think we should be that dry, but yeah, I know you're not that far. I just remembered someone, up here in northern Vermont talk about that, and then I just got off. I just went on my tangent. But yeah, tomorrow morning, thumping pretty good. Not bad, not great actually in the dendritic growth zone on this specific hour. Yeah, man, I'm telling you, when that band comes through, that's when it really gets going. You can see it's not like the HRR doesn't have it. Slide back to 0Z. Did we get it here? Yeah, it looks like HRR is getting a little bit more reserved. Some of these later runs now. Right, it's not like the HRR doesn't have it. HRR has the band too, so it's not like it doesn't have it. So people that are claiming it's drastic, that's not drastically different. It's just small, minor differences in the timing. Really small differences, right? A little bit dry here at the top, but see, mid levels we have really good lift. Plenty cold. The band just gets going a little bit later. Right, and we're thumping in Maine, right? You can see thumping. And so this is what I was talking about, right? And honestly, I think it's a good spectrum to have. I think the HRR is one of the more progressive models right now, and we can use that. And then I think the NAM is, I don't even know if it's that aggressive. It matches based on what it has at 500, it matches it pretty well. Compared to guidance, I guess it's one of the more aggressive models with snowfall totals, but it's not ridiculously aggressive. The Euro's been weird. Euro's had 3.1 inches. I saw exactly for 3 runs in a row now for Worcester. So I'm not sure exactly what's going on with the Euro, but do we get sound? No, we don't get soundings here. But I need. Here we go. Here's our. We can see right the band. RGM a little late, a little not great, not perfect on the RGM. A little late. You can see the band gets a little bit farther north and east on the RGM, so are similar to an HRR kind of solution. But well, here's what I found about the RGM this winter. It does actually pretty good in the medium short range, meaning by the RGM actually has done pretty well, right? It got extended too. The RGM used to be shorter. It's now 84 hours. It used to be 48 hours, I'm pretty sure. So the RGM has done actually pretty well in like that 36 to 60 hour time frame this year. But as we've gotten closer to the events, the RG it just hasn't done quite as well. The closer we get to the events, that's what I've at least just. That's not like something completely factual, scientific. I'm just telling based on what I've noticed with models, with the model this year. So, not disregarding it. I'm just telling you what I've seen, and then see get out of here eventually. But when do we switch over on the RGM? Yeah, around similar to the HR, where you switch over around 10, 11 a.m. compared to the NAM at this time. A little bit further interior, but we have more left over on the back side, and then we get going. Curious, can we get a NAM 12K sounding? There you go. Yep. Pretty good sounding right there. Moderate heavy snow, well saturated. Hudson Valley, let's take a look at that one. Yeah, pretty good sounding right there. 32 over 32, saturated, dendritic growth zone from 6 to 700. Pretty decent. Looks like probably close to -1 omega. Yeah, I think right now the biggest area of question mark is that is Connecticut, Connecticut, Rhode Island, Southeastern Mass, Long Island, New York City suburbs, Jersey, etc. I think those are the most. I think that those are the areas of most question right now. What do you say? HRF, yeah, HRF was aggressive. I guess we could. We could do it. What we can do is this beans right here. Here you go. Alrighty. There you go. There's the HRF for you. I don't really I monitor these, but I don't usually hold too much weight. I just monitor them. This is mean snowfall compared to before and after. 0 to 12Z difference. It's not bad when you have models getting heavier with snowfall totals. It's never a bad thing, but I don't hold too much weight for. And also the snow ratios on these are also sometimes pretty questionable. So it has its own dynamic ratio. It uses internal ratio map. So yeah, those are the HRFs. The National Weather Service uses those pretty heavily. Let's see, what is the National Weather Service? I don't care about I want to see their because NWS Boston has been pretty. They've been pretty bold for a little, and now that doesn't seem that bold, but they were pretty bold early this morning. They hopped on to the board and they real fast. They want to get there. They went pretty. They usually don't go that bold. And again, it's not actually bold, but compared to what they usually do, you can see here, they had I think 4 to 6 this morning for Worcester and into northeastern Connecticut, which is intriguing. And they had the 6 to 8 throughout last night too. I want to see their forecast discussion because they like to reveal some stuff a lot of times in these. All right, 0Z model. Well, that's a good point. Could be some power outages tonight and tomorrow morning. So anybody that's going to stay mostly snow, or even tomorrow, get I guess we can look at Albany too. Anybody that's going to stay mostly snow, or get 3 to 6 plus inches of snow tomorrow, of that heavier, wetter snow, we do want to be on the lookout for possible power outages. So I would prepare for possible power outages tonight into tomorrow. No wind, or no real wind concern. So this is 5 p.m. This is as of 5 p.m. or this is actually as of 2:30 p.m. They haven't updated it in 10 hours. But that's what Albany's got. But I'm just more curious about what they have. Class of southeast, response to height falls, wind shiftings from northeast to northwest. Yeah, and that's part of the reason why the coast is gonna be able to snow tomorrow too. Meaning, Eastern Mass is right. We're shifting winds from the northeast to the northwest, as noted by the National Weather Service right here. So that's why you're not going to be able to get that ocean breeze in the afternoon tomorrow. I wanted to get there more high level. Okay, here we go. Low rejection east. This plume of moisture expected to deep. Okay. Yep. Yep. Picking up on the low snow to liquid ratios. Looks like they're accounting for a 1/2 inch to 3/4 inch per hour rates tomorrow. No mention of 1 to 2 inch per hour rates. Yeah, they're definitely using the HREF. Yeah, they didn't go super in depth, but they talked about it. Some. Looks like they think 1/2 inch, 3/4 inch per hour rates. Looks like they didn't. They don't think. I don't know. They didn't mention 1 to 2 inch per hour rates. I mean, that doesn't change my thinking. You gotta remember, right? When I look at it, not that the National Weather Service doesn't do a great job of keeping people alert and aware of the weather. It's just when it comes down to the nitty gritty details of the forecast, like the difference between 2 and 4 inches of snow for your backyard, that I spend countless nights because I love staying up late to try to figure out all this stuff. Again, I love this, so it's not like it's that much of a problem for me, but that there's just small me trying to get precise, as precise as possible when it comes to the details. So that's why I don't always have the same thoughts as them. And again, it's harder for them, right? They have a bunch of people's thoughts, and they're trying to make one forecast, and then collaborate with other National Weather Service offices, and then the Weather Prediction Center, etc. So it's not the same. So it's a little bit tougher for them than just a single man operation that can say whatever he wants. Actually, that's not true. I could get canceled, so can't say that, I guess. But you get what I mean. Let's look at radar. Let's look at radar. Yeah, we look pretty good. We had thunderstorms and tornadoes earlier today across Georgia and Alabama. You can see we're getting really good moisture source here, tapping all the way into the Gulf, well into the Gulf of Mexico, almost really into the Caribbean, almost. We're pulling all this up, and that is going into our band tomorrow. But at the moment, it's going into our rain, so it is what it is. But that's what happens, right? When we consolidate our upper level low and we pull in, we consolidate. What happens is we pull in this moisture and we throw it back off the Atlantic, and that meets our cold air, and when warm air meets cold air, that's when we get special things to happen in the wintertime. And that's how we get a big band to meet on the other side of the front, and where the best dynamics are. They meet up at 700 millibars, and then we can pinpoint it from there. That is, that's deformation banding 101 right there. And we get that. That's not even just deformation banding. That's just winter 101 right there. That's how you create, dynamic systems with lots of snowfall. And that's how you do it. That's how you do it, baby. That's what we got on hand. If this was happening 100 miles further south, and we were consolidating that upper level low even sooner, we'd be talking about a widespread, 12 to 18 inches here. But we don't have that. So we work with what we got. And then we have Thursday. We got Thursday too, which is also exciting. But we can go even closer for a second on the bands. Or sorry, Wednesday night, Thursday. I've had Thursday on my mind since the beginning, so it is what it is. All right, this will get going, right? This will be some of the morning banding. This will get further north. This right here, push further northeast, and this will be some of the morning banding across, central New England tomorrow, in eastern New York, upstate New York. What does Albany have? Oh yeah, I already answered that. That was a little bit, just a few minutes ago. But yeah, we had a good, nice. We had a nice snow batch across Ohio and into Buffalo area and Rochester this morning into the afternoon, and that we were able to get a really good, really fun snow football game, which was fun to watch as well. Buffalo, I think, got like a few inches of snow. It looked like wet snow, but it was fun to watch on TV. That was for sure. Maybe not for Bills fans. Sorry, Bills fans. Better luck next year. But yeah. I'm going to talk about Thursday. So do we have any more questions? On this storm right now? Do we have any more questions? Comments, whatever you got, whatever's on your mind, you can feel free to drop it in. Appreciate, again, I know my YouTube folks are quiet, but I appreciate everyone that's in there and likes the stream and stuff. It is important. It means a good deal to me. But let's slide back. Okay, so here with Wednesday, Thursday, my thoughts remain the same as they did like 3 days ago with this one. We've been pretty steady. We started to get our energy sampled, our up level energy sampled. We've been pretty consistent with the placement of our upper level low, to be honest. A little bit more progressive, it looks like, over the past 24, 36 hours in general. Some little ticks back and forth in between, but for the most part, all right, we've been pretty consistent, but a little bit more progressive with this system. Maybe a little little bit faster. But we do, here's the key, right? Here's our cold air, right? You can see these 528. Oh no, that was a terrible drawing for a 528. You can see our 528, and you can see our 516, right? We have cold air in place, a really good high pressure, Canadian Southeast high pressure in place. And that's the key with this system. We're able to lock in high pressure, lock in cold air. And, people that think that we're going to just switch, like they're just buying in the model so easily, I'm telling you, they're underdoing the CAD. And the mesoscale models are picking up on it already compared to some of the global models. I'm telling you, you're going to stay cold. You're going to snow until that upper level low passes your latitude or overhead. You're going to probably, a lot of people north of I-84, 84 and 495, they're going to snow until they dry slot. A lot of people here. I'm starting to get more confident in that. Telling you, models are going to underdo the high pressure. We can see if they're starting to pick up, if globals are picking up on it at all. No, globals aren't picking up on it too much yet. I mean, some of this is timing as well, so. But GFS is definitely not picking up on this yet. GFS is not picking up on the CAD yet. But here's the thing. We have that high locked into place, so let's take a look. All right, notice 1031. We have this high 1034, a 1034 high locked into place. Boom, right over southeastern Canada, right on the border. All right, so we're going to lock in cold air here in the low levels, and we're going to hold on to it because mid levels were fine, plenty cold in the mid levels, right? Take a, take a sounding. Oh, all right, just take a sounding anywhere. Plenty cold in the mid levels. Plenty cold. I mean, that's a little close, kind of, but I mean, I pulled that in Jersey, for Christ's sake. Leg down. Let's go to Philly, right? We're locking in cold air in the low levels, right? And especially under heavier rates, here's why I say that a lot of people are going to stay snow until they rot out and they dry slot. Here's why I think that. Because this won't be the case for everybody, right? You may have, right, you snow and then maybe you have like a few hours of rain or something. But here's why I think. We're cold, right? We can see we're about to, but we're under heavier rates. So until we get heavier rates, we're going to stay cold in the mid levels. And then all the way down to the surface, you can see now at this point, this is where the CAD starts taking effect, right? Our cold air pushes into the low levels, right? This is not exactly how it works. I'm just trying to illustrate it. It's just, this is a 2.5D image right here, 2D/3D. This is not scientific in whatsoever. This is just me trying to help explain it to hope to anybody that is a little bit confused with what I'm saying right now. What happens is, I guess more like this. The cold air pushes, low level pushes into the low levels and allows us to stay colder and allows us right now to stay colder below zero. And that way we can snow all the way down to the surface, right? This is a moderate to heavy snow sounding right now at -1 omega, right? We're cold from, pretty decently high in terms of our dendritic growth zone, a little bit high. So we prefer to be a little bit lower in the atmosphere, ideally. 450 to where are we at 550. So this is maybe not the greatest snow growth potentially, but we stay still relatively cold. And definitely this is a snow sounding for sure, as you can see, because this is when we look at snow, this is our 0 degree line, right? 0 degrees Celsius, so 32 degrees. So as long as we stay on the right side, figuratively, not literally, as long as we stay on the left side, literally, of this line, we are not going to worry about. And even if we flirt with this line under heavier rates, we're going to pull back. This will pull back under heavier rates thanks to dynamic cooling and heavier precipitation will help cool the column. When you ever hear me say dynamic cooling will help cool the column, that means under heavier precipitation, It's going to bring down this cold levels of the atmosphere and help prevent our air partial from going over this 32-degree line and coming back, which then would be sleet. So when we cool the column, what happens is under lighter precipitation, maybe we sleet in that specific sounding. But in the next one, under heavier precipitation, we flirt, but stay still cold enough to not sleet. So from this point on, we can just stay snow. We're probably thumping pretty good because we got really heavy precipitation, and we'll sacrifice some of that snow growth for how heavy our precipitation is and still be able to get, 3/4 of an inch to inch and a half per hour rates potentially, depending on, so many different, factors of location and, with the banding, etc. And again, look at New York City. Right, this is lower Hudson Valley, New York City area. Plenty cold in the mid-levels. Are you kidding me? Plenty cold. And we've been snowing for this point probably a couple hours. Plenty cold. Plenty cold. Right? We're -10, right? We're -10 here, but we stay -10 pretty much all the way down. We're close to -10 all the way down to 800. And then we're -5 or below all the way down to basically almost to the surface until we're 32, 33 degrees. So this is cold. This is a really good snow sounding right here. This is a good moderate to heavy snow sounding, and then under heavier snow, probably thumping. And we can look here, and then at the next part, we can see, look at our 700, right? You can see our 700 probably get a good big old band to work through. And then some convection that works in behind it as well. And then until that passes latitude, right, follow the 700 low until it passes your latitude. Or passes your latitude or goes over your head, right? This will be a transfer system, remember too. It's just the transfer is happening a little too late to probably, to get a full blown, blockbuster snowstorm for a lot of people. We're hoping with the upper level energy still to be sampled that maybe we could get a little bit of a wiggle room, but we didn't get enough in favor. So there still could be changes, but we're pretty locked in. This is not a cutter, not whatsoever a cutter. This is for me, this is classic. I saw this. This was easy. Anybody could have saw this. This is not hard to see. Again, if you don't know what you're looking at, that's absolutely not a shot, right? You got to know what you're looking at first. But any meteorologist could. Right, I'm not that special. Any meteorologist or experienced weather enthusiast could have told you this was front end dump a couple days ago, based on what we're looking at a minimum. Right, we'll be doing this whole song and dance until the night before with this system of, oh, look at that, models underestimating the CAD, the cold air damming, and look at that, we have more low level cold than models thought. Look, we're holding on to it more than models thought. Hey, I was forecasted to get 3 to 5 inches. I got 7 inches. Right, we've gone through the whole song and dance before. Plenty of these CAD events at this point. Right, so until the upper level low passes through, we're going to hold on to the snow. It's still a little early. I was trying to figure out details. I can't get. It's like Wednesday PM, Thursday is the time frame. Actually, it's still a little early for me to tell in terms of details. But I think there's a good chance for one. Let's take some. We can't take soundings. So. Come on. Seriously, we can't take any soundings. All right, we're just going to look it up. Still a little too far out to take soundings. We took some soundings at the GFS. Philly, New York City. But until the upper level passes, I'm going to keep saying that, you're going to be able to hold on to that cold air, because we're going to be able to hold on to the cold air until, honestly, you might sleep after, depending on your location. But you're going to be able to hold on to that cold air, that low level cold air, 1034 high, or right over, over like Montreal, basically. That's a really good high placement. And that cold air is going to funnel down through the low levels. It's going to funnel down. You're going to be able to hold on to that cold air in the low levels of the atmosphere, right? Cold air goes to the low levels first, sinks, right, travels down, and funnels its way into those valleys, right, those low levels, and it holds on to that snow. And so, I mean, honestly, even into the mid-Atlantic, like northern Maryland's going to be able to get a front and thumb probably. I think at a minimum, Philly, New York City is at a minimum potentially 1 to 3, 2 to 4 inches of snow. I think at a minimum. And then we can try to figure out details from there because I don't want to get too bold. But I think this is by far Philly, New York City, Jersey, coastal Connecticut, their best chance of seeing accumulating snow all winter long, like actual good accumulating snow. I think there's a higher ceiling. Like I think this is the kind of storm where New York City could get like 3 to 6 inches of snow. I think that is very possible with this kind of setup, just because you're going to be able to hold on. I mean, we can do the whole song and dance already. We can try to figure out what is this, 3, 6, 9. Probably still snowing because it's not accounting for the CAD. That to me looks like 8 to 10 hours of snow right there for New York City. And I think the NAM is accounting for the CAD a little bit better than GFS. Notice the GFS tries to push this warm air all the way into here. Again, it's different model, so it's not the same model run. So I want to get that clear. But I think NAM's definitely, mesoscale models are absolutely going to account for the cold air damming better too. See, the setup's probably slightly different. Yeah, the NAM holds back a little bit further south too. Yeah, but here's the thing. Honestly, I don't know. New York City will probably rain. They'll get some rain. But anybody living I-84, Connecticut, in northwest of I-95, Massachusetts, they're honestly probably not going to get that much rain. Cold air damming is going to hold on to that. It's going to hold on to the low level cold air all the way until the event, right? We're going to be looking at this, and every model we're going to be doing it. I'm going to put the tweet out. See it look. Last 5 runs, HRR, colder. Last 3 runs, NAM, colder. Last 4 runs, GFS, colder. I'm telling you, I'm gonna put out one of those tweets, and it's not going to be a shocker. We're going to have snowpack, especially if we have snowpack too, because whatever our temp's going to be the next few days, there's no way we melt. If I held on to a couple inches of snow depth for 3 days or 2 days, whatever. Yeah, we're gonna hold on to it too, right? That's mid, right, 35 degrees. 35 degrees on Tuesday. Wednesday, we're gonna hold on to it. Yeah, so we're definitely gonna hold on to the snowpack. Which is the good news. So anybody's gonna hope that they can get at least a little bit of snow. Nothing telling because a snowpack will help you stay colder too. A little bit widespread snowpack, not just your backyard having more snow. You can't physically just make some snow in your backyard and expect it. Actually, that'd be an interesting scientific. I'm sure there's some scientific case studies on that, but like widespread cold back. Widespread snowpack to help you stay colder. I think we're still a little bit early to figure out some of the 700 stuff, but I mean that looks like a whopper of a band, though. It looks like a pretty good band. Interesting. I mean, you look at it from me, 4, 6 hours, 9 hours, right? It's like 10, 11 hours of pumping snow. To look at it, like it might get to the point, and again, don't take this verbatim. I'm just trying to illustrate my point, and this NAM run happens to illustrate my point pretty well. Right? Snow, right? Look at Central Mass. Snow, rain, dry slot. A couple hours of rain, and then you dry slot, and then that's it. That's it. So you hold on. You're going to be able to hold on. Melt maybe a little bit because you're warmer in the mid levels, and at this point probably the surface too, until the cold air moves in on the backside. So you're going to be able to hold on to the snow probably. And it looks like we're gonna have some pretty decent cold air to work with. I don't know, but we'll figure out tracking. Oh Lord, hello. I'll figure that out. But I do think we're gonna be able to. Oh, what is this? Hello, fantasy. That is cold air. That is a stretching event for sure. Yeah, that's cold air. We're gonna have some cold air. Oh, hello. Look at my fantasy storm right here. Almost, just a tad late. Just a tad late. But look at that, 10:45 high. Saying, oh Lord, that's cold air. That's real cold air. If we had 10:45 high, we'd be talking a lot more snow potentially, but we're not. 10:34 is going to be plenty. I'm telling you, this is by far I-95's best shot to see accumulating snow. I'd be shocked. I'd be shocked if we didn't. There'd have to be some drastic changes in the upper level energy, in the placement of the high over the next couple of days for us not to see, at least 1 to 3, 2 to 4 inches across Philly, New York City at a minimum. And I think there's a decent shot. Like New York City could get, like 3 to 6 inches of snow. And then as we get closer into New England, I think there's like 3 to 6, 6 to 12 potentially for some, or man, I don't know about 6 to 12. I don't want to go that far yet, but 3 to 6, 5 to 8 inch front end thump at a minimum, because we're going to be working that warm air. That warm air and cold air is going to collide, get a pretty good warm air advection, and we're going to be able to, to thump. You're going to thump until you basically rain for a couple hours and then dry out. Some people more than others, but I think you get the gist. To me, right, we have a really good chance tomorrow. For someone like me in my location, I think I'm in a pretty good spot tomorrow to potentially see some good backside snow, but I think Wednesday PM Thursday is one of the better. I think Wednesday night is maybe the by far the most widespread opportunity we've had for I-95. And right, it's not going to be a full blown snowstorm. It doesn't look like, but it'd be a full blown snowstorm for 6 hours. Take it for what it is. I think I don't know. I don't have too much more to add, to be honest. I like the setup. I've liked the setup for days now. I don't think there's that much more to add. In a perfect world setup, we would have shifted the upper level low a couple 100 miles southeast, but can only ask for so much here. We had any questions about if you still got questions about tomorrow, shoot your shot. Shoot it like Steph. I'll try to answer it. But tomorrow, Wednesday, Thursday, whatever you got. Again, I don't know exactly what we're looking at for snowfall totals, like on Wednesday night, but I think that we'll get a good I-95 snow, at least, I think, at a minimum, finally, which is positive. All right. Now we got. Okay, if you got any more questions, post them on Twitter. I'll try to answer them. I appreciate everyone that like the stream comes in. It, just glad to share my weather thoughts with y'all. It's helps. I understand these setups better when I stream because I have to make sure I understand what I'm saying so you can understand what I'm saying. In order to do that, I have to understand the setup. So I've become a better forecaster because of with these. So I don't take it for granted. Thank you. Thank you for coming in. Means a lot. Good chance we'll stream tomorrow night as well. Because then we'll get straight to Wednesday, Thursday. So until then, I will be on Twitter. DM me, at me, whatever you got to do. I'll be available. Peace, everybody.